Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good morning, Divas, and welcome back to the Divas That Care Network. My name is Candace Gish, and I am the host of this show. Well, thank you so much for all of our new listeners that are just tuning in today, and thank you to all of our listeners that have been with us from the beginning. You know, we're really excited. Our show now has been going on for almost 8 years, and I'm really excited for what we've done and how we've evolved. Today we're going to actually be introducing a guest back onto our show that's kind of been with us since the beginning, and I'm really excited because this lady has been my mentor for many years. For a lot of you that have tuned in, you probably not know this, but she is actually my mom, and I'm really excited because I always consider her in some of our older shows that she is the original diva in my family, and she's really been the motivation and the inspiration for the things that I've done in my life. And I'm going to be bringing her on today's show because I really want you guys to, for all of you, as I was saying, all of you new listeners, to get to know her, but our other listeners, just to see how she's evolving. She is an amazing businesswoman, but even being in business as long as she has, she's still learning and she's still evolving too. So I think it's going to be absolutely a fantastic show, and I can't wait to begin. So welcome to the show, Pat Anderson.
Thank you, Candace. I really appreciate you asking me on.
Well, you know, I'm really excited. You know, we've had you on the show quite a few times. You've mentored many women that have been on as guests on our show, but also our listeners. And, you know, it's really good to have you back on. But for any of our new listeners, I just want you to spend a few minutes here and talk a little bit about yourself and explain who you are.
Well, thank you. Who am I? I'm still trying to figure that one out, Candace, as you know. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But, you know, my life has had some challenges. I had a major illness from a very young age. And so my life kind of revolved around that for many, many years. And so, you know, I started off my career in the accounting field, owned many businesses in that line. We owned a grocery store together at times. We did a lot of different things. We had the horse ranch. But, you know, I always kept feeling that God was saying, you need to do something different that is in the health. So back in the 90s, I started up Renew International and, you know, manufacturing, promoting products that were all about health. I needed to keep me healthy, and I thought, you know what better way to keep me healthy than to find great products or manufacture them ourselves that could also help other people. And so it has really evolved around that. And 10 years ago, I was introduced to a network marketing company, and I thought, I don't want to do this. Maybe I'll take the product. But I started taking the product, and I started researching it, and it changed my life. And I knew right away that I needed to pay it forward to as many people as possible, and thus building an international business that keeps me pretty busy here, Candace.
That it does, and you have an organization that's a global organization, which is amazing, and especially to a lot of women that are probably tuning in today, they're thinking, it's like, okay, well, I can start my own business, but you've grown from the beginning, but now it's an extremely big business, and you've just been networking over the years, and it's not something that happened overnight. You were pretty brand new to the network marketing industry, but yet you've grown. And how is it that you have done that? Just kind of explain the steps and the processes that it's taken you over the years to get to the point that you are.
Well, you know, when it really started to grow in my business is when I became coachable. And, you know, one of my mentors, David Moses, and another one's Max Steingart, they say to me, you know, are you coachable? Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to listen? And are you willing to implement? And I'm going to tell you, this is going to sound funny, but there was days when, you know, maybe I wasn't in a good mood or I was tired or whatever, and David called me up and say, are you coachable today? And I go, no, and he'd hang up the phone on me. Because what's the sense of talking if I'm not going to hear the message that he wants to, you know, to relay it to me? And so I've had to learn, and it's a good having to learn, how to be really coachable, to listen to people that know a lot more than I do. As you said, you know, in the realm of network marketing, I don't have near as many years as a lot of people in this, you know, successful people in the industry. But what I did was I became very, very good at my time management. I became really good at implementing things that could help the team grow, and I surrounded myself with people that wanted the same thing that I did. And I think those are really key. It's developing a team that we can work, hand in hand with, that has a common goal, Candace.
Yes, and I understand that. And there's been challenges. Not every business, there's no business out there that is perfect. You've had your challenges. It's been up and down. It's been a roller coaster, has it not?
Oh, I don't know one business person that will ever tell you things have gone smoothly. I love my corporate team, but are there times when they have frustrated me over the years? 100%. Just like I'm sure I frustrated them. It's just part of doing business. We all have an ego, and that's just, if you're going to make it up to the higher ranks, you're going to have an ego, and people butt heads. But that's okay, because, when you're discussing things that maybe need to be changed, you can work out a compromise that's going to be better for everybody. There should never be a win-win for only one person. It has to be a win-win for everybody. And, of course, roller coasters are a part of it. They're part of the growing. But if you don't go down on the roller coaster, you can never go back up. Okay? So I embrace actually some of the going down. I might get frustrated, but then I start looking, okay, well, what can I do to bring it back up? And bring it back up higher than what it was before. And I think I have a fairly good analytical brain of analyzing my business. And I spend a lot of time doing that. And I analyze different parts of my business to see different groups and what they're doing. It's not about me. It's about us. All right? It can never be about you. That's probably the hardest thing. People go, oh, it must be nice to be you. And I'm going, no, I have a great life. But I said, my success is because of how we have worked together. And it's a team success. And, I really have embraced that, Candace, over the years.
And I think that's important to understand, all of our divas out there. I know that there is those struggles and those moments that you feel so down in the dumps, and and Pat and, myself being in network marketing also over the years, you get to those points and realizing that, okay, what am I going to do now to change that? And in any company that you're with, you can always change it. You can go back up, and you've learned over the years too, there's just different steps that you can do. I know over the weekend you've done some training, and I find that quite fascinating, because as a woman that's been in business for so many years, I love to see that you're now still learning. It's always a learning curve. And I think I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about that, because I think sometimes we as people, and if we've had a lot of success or some success, we stop and we almost like we plateau. And, I want to talk to you because even though you're very successful, you keep learning. And I want to, spend a couple moments. Can you share about that now?
I could be a professional student is what I could be. I could just go to school all the time. So I am always taking courses. There's always a book in front of me of some sort. There's always, and I love to do motivational books, but I just love to learn. So I'm doing a course right now to get into my next degree, and it's just for me. It's not to put behind my name or anything. And in fact, you'll never see me put any of my degrees behind my name. I like to go to school so that I learn. And so right now, I'm 61 years old, and I am absolutely horrendous at the social media platform at times. And so I've been trying to learn, and I've had so many things that I've introduced to our team, but I always have an expert teach them. It's never going to be me because I'm not an expert. And so this past weekend, as you said, I had somebody doing a boot camp for us, teaching, Max was teaching us, how to be better, how to build our business on social media. And actually at 7:30 this morning, I was on with him for an hour, and he's teaching me, and he says, we are going to teach this old dog new tricks. I'm going to be spending a lot of time learning how to do this effectively. Okay, and I don't want to just, you know how much I love posting pictures of my grandkids, but I also want to build a business through LinkedIn too. And so learning the proper words, that's a skill. It's not just making a post. It's how you say things. And so I'm going to spend the next 3 months working excessively hard at building my online business. And I've got a lot of the teammates are working with me, and it's a lot of fun, actually.
And this is something that any business can do, correct?
Oh, I think it doesn't matter what type of business you're in. You need to be, have an online presence. And there's nothing wrong with having a page that is for your personal and, all your family stuff, but then having a business page where you are promoting, whether you have a grocery store or you have a hairdressing salon. It doesn't matter. You need an online business because the millennial, that's how they do business. They want to be able to find somebody on a social media platform, take a look at, who they are, and then they're going to do business with you. But they're going to research you before they start doing business. That's just how they do things.
And I'm finding this quite interesting too. And for our listeners, I took my children to a hair salon, and in order to get into this hair salon, you actually book online the appointment. You don't even phone into these people anymore. You book online. There's an appointment. You book it, and it's set. And I find that interesting because that's what they had explained too, is that most of the people just want to do stuff off their phone. And I'm finding too with myself, we do a lot of things on our phone. We have all of our social media, we have our email, we have our text, our LinkedIn, Twitter, and everything seems to be on our phone. And some of the things that you learned this weekend, Pat, are based on mobility. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I use my phone more than I use, of course, even my laptop, and I have everything set up so that I can, receive my messages, of course, on my phone. But I just want to make one point here. Because we're so busy typing things instead of verbalizing them, we're losing the art of communication. Okay? So this can be a drawback at times. So my goal is to learn how to write how I would speak. And I need to portray my feelings through my writing. Okay? Because sometimes people just don't want to talk to you. They only want to text or email or, messenger, any of those type of things. So learn how to be an effective writer. And I think, I'm actually taking a course on that right now too, because I want to make sure that I'm writing exactly how I would say, what I want to portray. So it's just something to think about.
I love that. Well, and I think it's important because sometimes you'll get these text messages or you see things and there's words, and I laugh because I have to ask my teenager, so, well, what does that mean? I have no idea what that hashtag or what those two letters mean, but they know, they have a new language. But it's hard for us sometimes to understand that, and I think you're right. It's all about the communication and getting back to, I would like to say the basics. I love to talk to people one-on-one. I love to, spend time face-to-face with people, but unfortunately we live in a society now that we are very global, and we can't be face-to-face with a lot of people. But like you're saying, if we're able to communicate in a very positive way, in a way that's going to be effective, then that's what we're going to have to do.
Well, I'm building, my international business, throughout Europe right now. There's no way I could be flying back and forth to build it. It just couldn't happen. And yet, we've created almost 1,000 people in the last 2 months through social media. And so it's just, times are changing, but they're changing so fast that if you don't grasp it, and you don't get with the plan, you're going to miss out on it, okay? And I'm going to tell you, sometimes it's harder when you get a little older. You get set in your ways, but if you want to build a business, you have to evolve around what is happening in the profession that you're in. You have to make those changes if you want to continue in business. And as I said, I don't care what business you're in. You have to learn what's current and do your research and then make the changes. And if you don't know how to make the changes, get a mentor that will help you. And that's what I've done. I've surrounded myself with people that will help me be a better me.
And that's what I was going to ask you right there is how do you know how to be current? But you're saying find those mentors. Is it hard to find those mentors, or is there people out there that are willing to do this mentorship with people?
This is going to sound funny, but, once again, if you're looking for a mentor, you better do your correct research because there are a lot of scammers out there. And that's just, that's just a fact. So start doing your reading. Pull up on Google and search whatever type of mentor you want. You're going to get lists of all different types of different people. And then basically what you're going to do is interview. Don't just pick the first one. Interview that they're going to be a perfect fit for you. Okay? So have a couple of conversations with them. If they're a good mentor and they're respectable, etc., they'll do a couple of conversations with you free of just making sure that you're a good fit. Because if they're not a good fit, nobody's going to win. Okay, they're going to waste their time, and you're for sure going to waste time and money. So make sure you do your research. For me, I wanted a mentor that was a professional in my industry. And, he's in our company. I've known him for a long time. So that was a perfect fit for me. He was already successful. When it came to the social media and Max, I went looking. I'm going to be honest. I looked at everybody out there. And I did my research and I did my talking. And we've had a relationship for 7 years now. And I don't regret 1 minute of it. So do your due diligence.
I think that's important because you're right. There's a lot of individuals out there, and you really have to be careful. And I know our divas that listen to our program, they're very enthusiastic. They're really taking the tips that our guests come on and share. But, Pat is saying something really important that, make sure that you do your research. Maybe ask for referrals, do some networking. We have a great page, the Changemakers Cafe. You can always post different questions on there asking, okay, who are you using for a mentor? Ask those questions because a lot of people out there, they're willing to help out. And our divas out there, that's what they want. They want you to succeed. They want you to thrive. So make sure that you are asking people, ask those questions because they're very important. Pat, I know that you're really busy, but I just want to spend a couple minutes. You've had an amazing conversation. You've talked a lot of great things, but what kind of tips and tools can you leave our divas today?
Dig deep. This is going to probably sound a little harsh. So many people want it. Okay, they want to be at the top of their company. They want to be one of the best businesses out there, etc. But they're not willing to do the work that it takes to get there. Okay, and I get this every single day. I get calls in, and they go, "Well, I just can't do it." No, you're not working hard enough to do it. And it's okay. I always ask people, what is your real goal? What do you really want? And I want the truth. I'm going to be at my level. I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to really work hard, dig deep, put in the hours at times that you don't want to put in. But that's what it takes. If you want to, in your business, be just a really good business, you want to be liked by everybody, have a good clientele, it's not probably going to take as much work, okay? So I think what I'm trying to say is you really have to set the proper goals to what you are actually going to do, okay? People are really funny that way. They want everything, but they're just not willing to do the work to get it. So I would rather somebody say to me, you know what, I've only got 5 hours, 10 hours a week. That's all I have. What do you think I can achieve in that 5 or 10 hours? And I'm going to be bluntly honest and say, this is where you can be. And that they're so excited when they reach their goal because it was a correct expectation. Don't give people expectations based on, getting them to the top when you know with the amount of work that they're going to put in, they're never going to get there. Do an expectation that they can achieve, and they're going to be so excited that maybe they'll put some extra hours in to get to a higher ranking, get to a higher level in their business, whether it's corporately or their own business. But set the proper expectations. Okay, Candace? That's a real big one.
I love that.
With me.
No, I think that's absolutely the best tip ever because I think it's important. It is. If you don't have the time to put into what it is to achieve those goals, and it's hard. And I love that because that's what a real mentor does with you guys, ladies. And that's why you need to check them out is having somebody that will talk to you and be real with you. Pat Anderson has been a mentor of mine for many years and has really put me on my path to success and showing me that, and she keeps me in check. Even though, as I said, she is my mom, but she's also been a business partner of mine, and you need those people in order to say, okay, this is family, this is business. And with her and I, we've been able to navigate through that, and it's been wonderful. And you know what? Thank you so much for being my guest today. It's always a pleasure to have you on. It's always a pleasure to have you share your tips and your tools with our listeners because I know that you have a lot of experience, and as I said, we really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Candace, and I can't tell you how proud I am of you and all you're doing. And, hey, listeners, you got a good one in my daughter here, so I'm really excited about what's happening with the Divas. So thanks, Candace.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you, each and every one of you, for taking the time today to listen. We have an amazing network of Divas on the Divas That Care network now, and you can check them all out at divasthatcare.com. Each host is looking to interview amazing women out there, so make sure you put your name in there so that they'll interview you. And all of our calls are recorded, so you can check them out. And if you love this call, make sure that you pass it on to your friends and family. So thank you again so much, Pat, for coming on, and thank you to all of our Divas listening today. And I hope that each and every one of you has an amazing day. So take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
The road to exhilaration starts at the Lexus 3-day summer event. Take advantage of 1.0% off lease and finance rates for rates as low as 0.9% on select Lexus models. Plus, we'll reward you with event credits of $1,000 for total credits of up to $5,000. The Lexus 3-day summer event only runs from June 14th to 16th. Don't miss your opportunity to drive home a new Lexus. Book your test drive today. Some conditions apply.